Welcome to the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law, and well, hey, anything else we want to talk about. Today, I am joined by my dear friend, Julie Cassaday with Tanglewood, and I am just so excited about this episode, and you will see why in a few moments. Julie, how you doing today?
I feel fantastic, and I'm so excited to have a conversation with you. Thanks for inviting me on the show.
I'm really excited about this one. I can't wait. So I'll do a quick disclaimer here, just a reminder to all of my listeners that you should not take advice from this show or any other show for that matter to constitute legal advice. If you are looking for legal advice, please contact an attorney licensed in the state that you reside in, that practices in the area of law that you are looking to receive advice in, and contract with them individually to get legal advice regarding your specific situation. This show and any other show is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. And if you're looking for an attorney-client relationship and you happen to be in the state of Pennsylvania, please give us a call at Bellomo and Associates. That is B as in boy, ELLOMO and Associates. And we have offices in York and Lancaster, but we serve the entire state of Pennsylvania, specifically in the areas of estate planning and elder law. We do everything in our office through education. We offer 2-hour educational workshops for estate planning, crisis planning, special needs planning, as well as life care planning and administration. If you're looking for any of those areas of the law, we would like to educate you so that you understand the information and any cost that would be pertaining to your situation before you make any commitments to work with an attorney or a law firm. So we are very proud of that at Bellomo and Associates. We have our weekly workshops on our website at bellomoassociates.com. And you can also call the office at 717-845-5390 to receive all of the upcoming workshop schedules as we offer them on a regular basis weekly. Wonderful. So, Julie, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I always sort of chuckle because I want to look in the camera so I feel connected to your audience, but I also like to have connection when I'm speaking to someone so I see your face. So forgive me if I do a little jostling.
Absolutely.
So you and I were talking briefly about the name of my company, and I love to give this little overview of how I came up with the name. When I was a little girl, probably before I was even born, my parents, who already had 4 children, moved into a property that was very, very neglected. Ooh. It was an old historic property, literally floors missing, that kind of thing, and completely overgrown with brush and fallen trees and things like that. So my dad named it Tanglewood. And he built this rustic looking sign by scratch, by homemade, hung it up on one of the front trees by the street, and went to work and getting busy with clearing a lot of the brush. And he had a lamb and a goat and some kids of his own to get out there in the yard and get it all cleaned up. So years later, long after I was born, my father developed dementia.
He
developed Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's is characterized by the plaques and tangles in the brain.
Oh.
Yes. So a harken back to Tanglewood. Every time I hear plaques and tangles, I think Tanglewood. And we'll get into my life coaching a little bit more, but I really feel like my work as a life coach is to help people uncover the beautiful gem that they really are at their very core, and dispense with all the programming and the lies that we've told ourselves for years and years. Pull all that away, get rid of the brush and the extra stuff, and get us back to where we really belong, which is our souls and our highest versions of ourselves. So that is why I use Tanglewood as my name and my logo with the rooted tree and all that. So I always think that's such a fun tale to tell.
Yeah, it really is. That is fascinating. That is incredible. And what got you into life coaching, into Reiki, into communication training? Like, there's so many things going on. I'm intrigued about why was that your passion?
I know it is a little bit like the yellow brick road when you start to delve into who I am and what I do. So when I was in college, I studied mass communications. So I
Oh,
studied both organizational communication and broadcast communications. And that's where I guess I got my love of speaking to people and connecting. Um, and then I went into, through a couple of stepping stones, I ended up in the world of sales and
okay.
I sold contract furniture for about 30 years. And what
Wow.
I learned about that was what I love was the connection with people and building
Right.
relationships because sales is a relationship business, really.
Yeah.
So I did that for 30 years. And one day when I was just distraught because I recognized that because furniture sales is actually a business where you
Right.
have to exchange money and such,
Yep.
money for goods, the idea of margins and net profits and commissions and freight fees and service fees and this, that, and the other really
Okay.
just was not my vibe at all any
Right.
longer. I don't know if I grew out of it or it just never was me.
Right.
So at the same time, I was sort of ruminating on all of that. Driving home from work one day, I got a voicemail out of the blue, right? In my work, it's never out of the blue, it's
Yeah.
completely synchronistic. Um, an advertisement for a life coaching class based on the law of attraction. Well, I didn't have to think at all. I just said, that's for me. I've got to do this. So within
Wow.
a couple of few months of launching into that course, I slowly started to look at my life differently. And I gave notice in my work and I launched Tanglewood that same week, started my own business, the whole thing. And all the while this was happening, my father was living with Alzheimer's and
Oh.
my mom was needing more and more help with him. So this allowed me a great deal of flexibility to be on hand for both parents and be in that journey with them. And that was in 2017.
And have you had any occasion in Tanglewood to continue to work with individuals with dementia or those types of things? I imagine you probably have since you were impacted by your father and
Yeah, so it's so interesting and such a good question. So when I started, I was open to whatever clients came my way. I didn't really have a target audience. I just found
right.
that people who came seemed to have a lot of similarities with my background, so I was able to connect with them easily. After my father passed in mid 2017, we recognized that my mom had vascular dementia. So I then lived with caring for her along with my sister who's close by. And
Wow.
yeah, so I got sort of deeper and deeper into the world of dementia, got involved with the Alzheimer's Association. I know you're probably familiar with them.
Oh yeah, very familiar.
Then became an employee. I sort of stepped off the Tanglewood path, became an employee for the association, stepped back onto the path of Tanglewood, and had gotten my Reiki certification, Reiki energy healing. A lot of
Wow.
different things happen in between, Jeff, but suffice to say, now I'm working with people who are living with dementia, and I have a small group I work with, and I am providing them with Reiki energy healing once a week, and that's been phenomenal.
So
And
may I
yeah,
ask if you were to talk to a dummy like me, how
stop.
would you describe Reiki? I
Yeah,
think I know, but I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that word correctly.
yeah, because I throw it around like, oh, everybody knows what this is. So can we do this for a second? If you could just rub your hands together, and if your audience would like to do the same, I invite it. But when we rub our hands together like this, we're causing friction.
Right.
And if you didn't know this before, we're really made up of energy. And if you stop and sense what you're feeling in the palms of your hands, it's like how would you describe it?
Like a tingling or like a radiation almost. Like
Yeah.
I don't know.
Warmth. So that's your energy
Yeah.
coming to the surface. So that's what I feel when I'm providing Reiki. And really, what it is it's an energy exchange between myself and the client. And I like to think of sort of their energy comes up to meet my energy. And
Wow.
it helps to move any stuck or sluggish energy. So, really, what it provides is a state of deep relaxation
Okay.
and that parasympathetic response, right? Instead of being that fight or flight, it's the opposite. So, it drops you into that state.
Wow.
So
You
it's a
know what I
very,
just learned is I'm really glad that you didn't ask me to describe Reiki because I would have gotten that wrong. So
oh,
I am glad I asked. Actually, I a lot of times will sit silent, and today I was like, no, I'm going to ask. I'm not sure I know.
very good. Yeah, and most people don't, and it's pronounced Reiki, and it's Reiki. Rake.
Okay,
I always tell people like you rake leaves.
right?
Reiki. Yeah.
Wow, very cool. And I notice, just because I happen to be looking at your sign that is right over your shoulder, which is beautiful, by the way. I
Thank you.
love the tree and the roots and Tanglewood, empowering you to live your jog. You do
Your
keynote
joy.
speaking. Oh gosh, yes, you're
Oh,
right.
you
It is
jog.
joy.
Maybe
I,
you find joy in
I, did-
jogging.
I don't. I'm a big guy. I'm not really a jogger. Keynote speaking, communication training. Wow, organizational training. You do a lot of wonderful things.
Thank you.
That's incredible. Tell us a little bit about your communication training. I'm intrigued by that.
Oh, yeah. Well, so I act as a speaker. So organizations will hire me to come and speak at their events, whether it's an employee development day or an annual conference. I do small groups and large groups, and I have a menu of different programs I offer as standard, and then I always have that sort of or customized to meet your needs kind of thing.
Wow.
But the communication one is really simple. It's healthy communication.
Cool.
And it's really just the basics of how we interpret one another in our conversations and through texting and through emailing and voicemails and yada yada yada, social media posts, all that good stuff. So it's sort of a, brace yourself kind of close look at how we're communicating these days, and then some really general, simple to use tips. I say simple, simple, some not so simple, but simple to use tips to keep in mind as we move forward and care for one another, right? And the way we are treated and treat others.
Man, I think communication is the key to everything. And I've done a lot of communication training over the years. And the one thing that I will never forget, the one speaker said is, he or she who has the communication skills will always win. And I don't think it was a win-lose thing. It was just if you can communicate well, you can live well, you can have friends well, you can, just what a great statement. And so true. I mean, I think it's the key to everything we do, in life, not just in business, but in life.
Oh, so true. And I got chills, which means that's even more true than I
Yeah,
first thought, but it's so true. And I think we forget sometimes that communication is not just what we're
right.
saying, it's how we receive what other people are communicating to us. It's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And it's funny, in Reiki healing, a lot of times people have issues with their throat chakra. A chakra is an energy system in the body.
Okay.
And the throat chakra is all about receiving and giving communication. So
Wow.
usually people hold back from speaking their truth. That's one of the
No
biggest blocks
way.
I find.
Wow.
If that
Wow.
resonates with anybody listening to this.
Yeah. The one question I wanted to make sure that I asked, because I do have an agenda, because I want to bring up
Yeah.
something, is the life coaching.
Hmm.
I'll ask the same question that I asked with Reiki, just because I don't want to assume anything. How would you describe life coaching, and what would that mean to you?
Sure. So the way that I structure my life coaching work is, first of all, I find that whoever comes through my door, they always end up being perfectly aligned with my experience and what I'm able to offer sort of on an intuitive basis. I don't know if that's challenging to grasp, but I'm never surprised when people come through the door. They'll say, "Oh, you won't believe this, but my mother has dementia," or something like that. I'm like, "Nope, doesn't surprise me one bit." It
Wow.
just makes sense, right?
Yes.
And there are people with other growth patterns going on, that makes sense to me and I can help with. But life coaching really is meeting someone where they are right now. So I don't do a deep dive into history and the past. That tends to come up anyway.
Yeah.
But I meet them where they are today and I get sort of an assessment of what their goals are. What are they looking for? Oftentimes they come in and they are just a wreck and not feeling well, not feeling themselves. And so the goal is to really I guide and remind them. I'm holding a flashlight for them, is what I like to say. And I'm reminding them of who they are at their core. And I'm reminding them that they are empowered and can choose to be empowered. And I'm reminding them that they have a voice. And oftentimes, those not so subtle conversations can have someone feeling empowered and more joyful in just a couple of sessions. Like,
No way.
I don't think you should come to see me for years on end. I really think, within a few sessions, you should be feeling much better. And
Wow.
certainly within a month or a few months, you should really be on your way?
Wow.
Was
And
that
is
a good
most
answer? Was that an
yeah.
answer?
No, it was a perfect answer. Is most of the life coaching done in person, on Zoom? Like how does that work? A little naive maybe.
No, not at all. And it works however it needs to. So I have
Oh,
had clients who meet with me via Zoom. I'm actually holding some virtual workshops right now just because we're in the middle of winter and I didn't want to have to be dependent on weather being good or bad. And I've got people from Vermont and I've got people from Rockville, Maryland, tuning in. So that does help. But I do workshops locally here in Westminster, Maryland, and I also see people in my home studio in Westminster, Maryland.
oh
Um,
wow.
yeah.
And I imagine the communication training, you could probably also do video conferencing as well for an organization or a group.
Yep. Done it both
Perfect.
ways.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
So
Yep.
back to my leading question about life coaching.
Yeah.
One of the most fascinating things that I read when I was reading your notes, we always send out to podcast guests, a questionnaire just so I have an idea of who they are and sort of a little bit about them. I was fascinated, and you had me at the comment of life coaching for caregivers.
Mm,
I I have been preaching for years that I think that the group of people that gets neglected is caregivers.
yeah.
They are the ones who are caring for their loved ones, putting their loved ones first, and in most cases, not taking care of themselves. Frankly,
Mm,
I always remind people, you get on the airplane. The flight attendant comes to the front of the airplane and says, "The unlikely event of cabin loss pressure, a mask will fall from the ceiling. If this occurs, please secure your mask first." And I ask everybody, why do they tell you to do that? Well, because if I don't put my mask on and I die or I go unconscious, I can't help you. Yeah, but especially caregivers, they don't do that. They don't put their own mask on. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, do I have a topic? So, could
yeah.
you talk a little bit about life coaching for caregivers?
Yeah. First of all, this group is as underserved as well, I can't say that. It's an underserved group.
Yeah.
Okay. However, I see the tides changing. I also am involved in advocacy work, and I was just down in our state house of Annapolis advocating for caregivers and for, navigation, health navigation, and that kind of thing. Anyway, that's another story. But being a caregiver myself and having a partner with my sister as a sister, my sister was my partner, tag team, um, I was very fortunate, and I was caring for my parents, but I was also caring for children growing up and, a newish marriage and things like that. And life is busy. And I was working full time, as I stated earlier, until I made that transition into coaching. So I see these people. I mean, I see them. When I say that, I can be in a grocery store and I see it. I see the look in their eyes and I know, and it's that complete state of depletion and frailty. And when I am out in the communities, as I mentioned to you, I'm providing Reiki right now for some dementia residents at one of the local communities, which is amazing work. But when I'm in there and I see the caregivers of these, the family members of these folks come in, I see the look in their eyes, Jeff, and I just know it. I know that feeling. I know what that's like. I feel like it took years off my life doing that. And I had a partner, I had support.
Right.
We had our parents in a community. So the folks who are doing it one on one at home with a spouse or a parent or a child, even, right? I mean, we often forget to talk about the parents who are taking care of children who can't care for themselves, etc.
Hmm.
So I just decided that I would develop content that could cradle these folks in just a tiny bit of care and love from the heart and just a little respite, even if they're only with me for an hour, whether it's in my studio or at a caregiver conference, which I've done locally. And the response has been great. But you know what? Really, it's just a matter of them knowing that they're seen and that somebody understands how hard this journey is. The troubling fact for me is those caregivers who are not building the cobweb of support that I feel is needed, right? And it happens for a variety of reasons, but mostly it's that feeling of I'm the only one who knows how to care for my husband or my wife or my mother. No one else can do it the way I can do it. And so they disregard their own doctor's appointments, etc., follow up, because they can't call in for someone to sit with the person who's ill, right?
Yeah.
I hope that summed it up.
Absolutely. And I think I was so excited when I read that. I was like, wow, that is just brilliant, because I've always said there's just not, well, underserved. I mean, I think you just said it perfectly. And, I don't really know what to do for them. I don't really know what to recommend. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, that is so brilliant. Like, life coaching, like have someone to talk to, have someone to just be heard and just know that you're not alone. I think that's huge.
It is huge, and it's one of those things I don't think you know until you know. And when you're in that hot seat, and then it's a matter of how do we get them to understand that it is okay for them to call a hotline number or visit the local Bureau of Aging or whatever it's called in your area.
Yep.
See what support systems might be available. Are there support groups they can attend? Are there any over, Zoom if they're comfortable with that because they don't want to leave the home, right? So yeah, I don't know. It's not a one size fits all answer ever.
I have a dear friend who ended up becoming the caregiver for a spouse, and form of dementia. I don't know if it's Alzheimer's but a form of dementia, and I saw them probably every 6 months, I would say. And towards the end, before he passed, I saw them together, and some of the comments that she made that day were very obvious to me that wasn't her speaking. She was 24/7 caregiver, and I'm sure towards the end it probably got very difficult and very hard, and I knew in that moment, like, I don't know what to do for her, but I know she needs something. She needs help. She needs someone to talk to. She needs someone to be there. And clearly, especially with someone with dementia, because a lot of times they'll be up all night long. And so now you're not sleeping during the night, and now you're not sleeping during the day. And so it is just, I would just love that is an opportunity. And it just gives me so many ideas of things to do for clients and to do for caregivers, to give them an out, to give them a space. So that's phenomenal.
Yeah. And are you talking about someone who's about your age who just went through this?
A few years older than me.
Yeah.
But,
Okay. So
but yeah,
probably
but not,
younger
on the
onset
younger
dementia.
end. Yes.
Yeah. So that's when you're before the age of 65 and you
Yes.
develop the disease. And Jeff, I'm seeing more of that. And that really is just a double whammy. That's the only word that's coming to me, because they typically have children
Yes.
and the spouse, two incomes down to one income, the whole nine,
And
it just
everything
is
else happening at the
devastating.
same time, right? Like, ooh,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. Well,
And
as I,
there are some special services for those folks too that
oh,
I think
really?
are starting to develop. I'm starting to see this swell of support that's specific to that demographic.
And
So
he has passed. So, for that specific person, but it
yeah.
just, you and I know there's a lot more out there. I just happen to know one. And so now my brain is running on,
I
we
know
could do
someone in
this, we could do
Gettysburg
that.
right now
No
who's
kidding.
going through that. Yep.
Oh. Well, as I fully expected, Julie, we could sit here for 4 days
Of course.
and talk all day long. So I cannot thank you enough. I just want to remind my listeners to keep Julie Cassaday in your mind with Tanglewood. What an incredible company. Very, very multi-talented as far as keynote speaking and communication training and organizational training and Reiki and life coaching. And I'm sure I'm missing probably another 50. But Julie, just what a great, incredible business. And thank you for everything that you provide to the community. Would you be willing to let the listeners know how they could find you, how they could reach you if they were trying to look for you?
Of course. So the company name is actually Tanglewood, which is one word, life coaching. And I have a website, tanglewoodlifecoaching.com. And my email is similar. It's julie@tanglewoodlifecoaching.com. My phone number and contact information, I believe, will be available through Jeff when you post this, I believe, or at least. But always feel free to call or text me or shoot me information through the website. I'm also on Facebook as Julie Cassaday, and I'm on LinkedIn as Julie Cassaday. So that should do it. But I hope that there was just one nugget of information that was helpful to somebody to give them a little hope and maybe pick up their step a little bit. But thank you, Jeff.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was wonderful. And to my listeners, please keep Julie in your mind and Tanglewood. What a great organization. Definitely providing back to the community. And we absolutely love that. Again, if you're looking for legal advice in regards to estate planning and elder law, please give an attorney a call practicing in the state that you are in that practices specifically in the area of law that you are looking for. If you're in the state of Pennsylvania and you're looking for estate planning and elder law, we would be honored to assist. Again, it's Jeff Bellomo, B as in boy, ELLOMO. We are Bellomo and Associates, and the contact is bellomoassociates.com. And we offer weekly workshops in estate planning, crisis planning, life care planning, special needs planning, and post-death administration for both trust and probate. So we would certainly be a great go-to place for free education and providing that advice. To all my listeners, thank you for joining us on the Red Wagon Estate Planning and Elder Law Show, hosted by me, yours truly, Jeffrey Bellomo, where we discuss all things estate planning and elder law. Again, thank you to Julie Cassaday with Tanglewood. Julie, thank you for being here today. Thank you to my listeners. And until next time, we'll see you real soon.